So, have you guys ever heard somebody saying, yo, this guy has so much money, but yet he's so cheap? Like, look at him. He drives a Honda Civic and he has all the money in the world to be able to drive whatever he actually wants. But most people don't understand that the rich do exactly what they want to do. And if that guy's driving a Civic, it's most likely because he doesn't see that much value in driving a luxury vehicle. But a lot of the times you see poor people are always saying rich people are rich because they're cheap. They never get to enjoy their wealth. So what is the point of having it anyways, you know? And that's not really true. And that's why in this video, I'm going to break everything down to kind of give you guys a better understanding of how this mindset actually works. Now, as always, guys, do me a favor and like this video. On top of that, also subscribe and hit the bell so you get notified. Now, the first thing I want to say, guys, I remember not so long ago, I was reading this book. It was called Stop Acting Rich by Thomas J. Stanley. And in this book, there was an example with Rihanna. Yeah, the Rihanna pop singer, makeup person, all that stuff, famous. Well, at a certain point, she was actually wanting to sue her personal advisor. Do you know why? Because she was going broke. And then his response was, well, did I actually have to tell Rihanna that she was going broke, and that if she kept spending money on things, she would have the things and no longer the money, okay? And that kind of sounds funny. You know, you're suing somebody because they didn't tell you you were going broke because you were overspending money. Kind of sounds like hilarious, but you see this all the time in the real world in smaller ways. You know, your friends tell you, hey, just spend, you know, that's fine. But when you see somebody, for example, that's famous do it, for example, like Iron Mike Tyson, he went ahead, spent all this money and all this luxury. He went bankrupt. People laughed at him, okay? Same thing in the real world. Well, in the normal world, I should say, okay? It's all one world, okay? But overall, you know what I mean, okay? The point is, when you have money, you know, or you're trying to save money, you're trying to invest, people will tell you, you know, spend your money buying the things you like and actually enjoying life. Although that's like fake news, okay? But when you spend money unwisely, people will look at you and judge you like, why do you do that? Such a stupid guy, okay? It's just the mindset. That's why you have to kind of make up your own mind, your decisions and your goals, and not be swayed by the comments of other people. Now, on top of that, here's one thing, okay? I'll confess. My dream car is a Porsche Cayenne. It's a 2018 to 2023 that I actually want, and it's a $60,000 vehicle, okay? And I want it in gray because the gray looks beautiful. The interior is amazing. And honestly, if I grabbed $60,000 right now and I bought that car, I would actually enjoy driving it, okay? It would be an amazing experience. But after a while, it would just be like a normal car. And I would realize in my brain, hey, I have this car, but I no longer have $60,000 that at a 10% return over 30 years will equal $1 million. That's kind of crazy. Now, poor people mindset will respond to that comment I just said and said, well, Tommy, are you going to wait 30 years to actually be able to drive your dream car? That's just ridiculous. Well, the answer is this, guys, okay? The average millionaire is in their 50s. Becoming a millionaire, it actually takes time and sacrifice and planning. It does not happen by accident unless you win the lottery. And then the odds are you're going to lose the money anyways, okay? That's usually what happens, which is sad. And it's not a good thing. I'm not making fun of them, okay? But overall, that's the poor people mindset. And that's why they go ahead and say, well, I'm not going to wait 30 years. I don't even have 60K in cash. I'm just going to go ahead and basically finance it over 5 years, or I'm going to lease the vehicle. And that's how you turn 60K into 30K or 25K because of depreciation. Vehicles go down in value. Investments go up in value. And the idea is if you invest your money over the long term, your investments can eventually buy the things you actually want, but you actually don't need. And yes, although I actually want this vehicle, it's my dream vehicle, I understand I'm only going to use it to get around anyways, and I can just be just fine right now with a Toyota or a Honda or a Mazda. It's more than fine. It's more than enough. Now, my second point is this, guys, okay? A lot of poor people, they don't understand delayed gratification. And the idea of delayed gratification in simple terms is just basically waiting a little longer until you're actually ready to actually do the things you actually want to do, okay? It's like the reason why for a very long time, I used to use phones that were like 4 or 5 generations behind. People would ask me why, and the answer would be, hey, I just cannot get myself into a brand new phone right now. Or it's the reason why at age 19, I used to buy for, well, not 19. At 19, it was a lot more different. I'll tell you more about that in just a second. But delayed gratification is just waiting to do things when you're actually able to do it without actually sacrificing what you should be actually doing at that moment. It's the idea that, yeah, I actually want to buy this vehicle, but right now I can't. So right now I'll buy this one instead that takes me from point A to point B until I'm actually able to do that one. It's the reason why you say, you know what, right now I want to watch TV, but instead of doing that, I'm actually going to do my homework or whatever work I have to do, and then I'll get into whatever I actually want to do. These decisions, they actually pay off a lot in the long term. And when you actually do things very well, you live off of that labor and those sacrifices you made to do the right things in the beginning, all right? It's very important. So here's like one coin, two sides, because I actually went through both, okay? I went through the part where I was just super impatient and I just did not delay the gratification. I was like, no, gratify me right now, all right? So you see that, for example, when I was 19 years old, all the money I got, I would spend it on clothes, on shoes, and technology, just buying whatever I actually wanted to buy. If I couldn't afford, for example, something, I would just basically put it on a credit card or figure out a way to actually buy it, all right? That was the idea. I did that with computers. I did that with clothes and shoes, all the stuff, okay? I wanted to get that gratification right then and there without the work, without the patience, without any of that stuff, okay? And to become wealthy, again, it does not happen by accident, and it takes a lot of work, and the odds are not in your favor. So now, today, well, not today, I can't say that, but then after I had that phase, I had my second phase, okay? And that phase was like, I realized delayed gratification is super important. So whenever I needed to buy things like clothes and technology, I just bought everything used. I went to Goodwill, I went to eBay, I went to Facebook Marketplace, I bought my clothes there. I bought all that stuff anywhere, just wash it, that's fine, okay, it's clean. And it's basically started to save a lot of money. And because of the sacrifices, and when it came to my work, instead of, for example, just watching movies all day or having fun with my friends all day, I would work, and I would work very hard, okay? And because of the sacrifices, I'm able to live off that labor today. And that's all delayed gratification. So when you're broke, your priorities are different. When you have over $1 million or you're financially free in a sense, if you want to buy your dream car, it's not that much of a big deal because it's not going to be a massive dent into your net worth, okay? I think one good example that I heard from Ramit Sethi, the author of I Will Teach You to Be Rich, he basically said, was it him or was it Grant Cardone? I just can't tell anymore, okay? So many opinions out there. But it was about like buying a pair of Ray-Bans, okay? You know how those glasses are so expensive, like $200, ridiculous, okay? But if you want to buy a pair and you own it, you want to be able to say, if I lose this pair of glasses, I'm not going to freak out, okay? That's the idea. And it kind of sounds like, why wouldn't I freak out? It's like $200. Well, if you lose it, it kind of like, okay, you're kind of upset about it, but you're not losing your mind about it because that's a sign that you can't afford that in the first place. Kind of like a bad example. Maybe I want to retract it. But the point is, only buy things you can afford to buy and pay for in cash. They're not going to impact your net worth so much. That is the full answer right there. Now, here's my third point. Price does not equal quality. And a lot of poor people, when they buy something, they base their decision based on price. And they assume that if it is the most expensive out there, it must be the best. And that's just not true whatsoever. You know, you see somebody, for example, with an iPhone 14 Pro, which by the way, this is one of those, okay? And don't think I'm a hypocrite. I'll tell you more about this phone later. But you see somebody with an iPhone 14 Pro and you're like, yo, this guy has the absolute best phone in the market. Is that true? The answer is no. There are phones out there with better cameras, with better screens. And you cannot say, well, price equals quality. That's not true. You know, quality equals quality. Handsmanship equals quality, okay? So whenever you're buying something and you're looking for quality, You base that on the materials, on its actual utility. Does it actually do the task you actually want it to do? And if the answer is yes, then that is a quality product. But when you're looking at something based on badges and price, hey, the best cars out there have to be the most expensive. You're looking at Mercedes, Audi, what is there out there? I'm just like, I'm losing my mind here. And Cayenne and like all these other fancy cars out there, you might say those might be the best. But when you look at, for example, the facts and the JD Power ratings and so on, and you look at all the reports and reviews by consumers, you find out, hey, the best and most reliable cars out there, because you want a car to be reliable, that's really what you want a car for, are Toyotas. And they are very affordable. Our Mazdas and Hondas, those are the most affordable, long-lasting, reliable cars. And you might think, no, Tommy, a Range Rover is almost over $80,000. Some are even more expensive than that, okay? This has to be better than a Toyota. But then you look at the reports, you say, hey, these cars are breaking down all the time. They might leave me stranded. They have a bunch of issues. They're more expensive. How can that make sense? Well, the idea is people are buying badges. People are driving what they think people like. And that's what they basically care about. But they don't actually care about the quality. Well, a lot of poor people think that way. And you don't want to think that way, okay? That is the idea. And that is a concept. Now, to close out this video, guys, here are some interesting facts. And don't worry, in a second, I'll tell you exactly how I got this phone and what's actually going to happen with this phone. But here's the interesting fact, okay? Rich people are the ones that are driving those Toyotas and Mazdas and Hondas, and some of them actually drive Lexus because Toyota makes Lexus, obviously, so it's quality. It also has the luxury input inside with the interior, okay? And they actually buy homes that can actually pay off in 15 years or less, and their homes are usually no more above like $400,000, even less than that, okay? On top of that, they tend to value their time more than actually money in a sense, okay? So they acquire money, acquire wealth for financial independence to be able to have financial independence and liberty over their time. That's really what they want money for. But you might be surprised to know that poor people, which kind of sounds like redundant in a sense, or just like counterintuitive, or it just sounds weird, right? When you hear that poor people are the ones buying the expensive luxury cars. They're ones with going to the fancy restaurants. They're the one buying the fancy houses. And you might say, Tommy, how are poor people buying those things? Because they can just basically finance it, they can credit it. And even if they have a lot of money, for example, they can buy those things. But again, being poor, for the most part, and that kind of sounds like weird and skeptical, is a mindset. You know, you can have a lot of money, but have a poor person's mindset because all the money you get just goes towards badges and just doing horrible things with money. While a rich person with a rich person mindset can just be someone who doesn't make that much money, but is steadily investing and making correct decisions for in the future, they can actually have that wealth. That is the idea. You have different mindsets, and that's the most important thing. Now, to close out the video, like I promised you guys, okay, this phone right here is a phone I gave myself when I actually became debt-free, okay? I wanted to buy a phone, brand new for the first time ever, and when I bought the phone, I was like, hey, this is pretty nice. It's a nice phone. But just like if I bought a Cayenne Porsche, I would actually feel pretty good with it, but then after a while, it would just be something regular. I've noticed a few things. I don't need this phone. I don't use the camera. I don't record videos with it. It's nice, it looks fancy, but for the most part, it does everything my iPhone XS Max did, except the battery is better. So I'm actually going to sell this phone. If you are in the market, hit me up. Sell it to you, okay? But I'm actually going to sell this phone and buy me, for example, an iPhone 12 or an iPhone maybe 13 or iPhone, yeah, between 12 and 13. And if I can sell this phone here where I live for like $1,000 or $1,100, I can, by the way. Prices are like that here. I can basically buy an iPhone 12 for like $400 and get to keep like $700 in my pocket. And it's the same phone in a sense, same utility, at least for me, and I'll be just fine. But why do you think Apple makes all these different colors, right? It's because, hey, you know this guy has a purple one. That must be the latest one. It's the latest color, right? You see the thing on the side? Gotta be the latest. But in reality, it's just a phone. And for the most part, no one's actually doing anything crazy with it. And if you want a phone to do stuff with it, like video stuff, just get a regular camera. But guys, that's it for this video. And that's why a lot of poor people think that rich people are cheap. But in reality, rich people tend to have very smart mindsets and have good priorities, are good with delayed gratification and just know how to actually value money in a sense. They don't want money to buy things, but they want money for the option to actually have financial freedom. That's it for this video. Thanks for watching. Comment down below, Rich, so I know you made it all the way to the end of the video. Up here is another video. Over here is my face. Subscribe, and as always, Long Term Team officially out.